Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Buongiorno tutti.
So I'm Kristin Charles Scaringi. I've been to SENYCon many times. Some of you may recognize me. I am the head of borrower and technical services at the Poughkeepsie Public Library District.
And I'm Beth Vredenburg. I am head of branch and extension services, which is basically everything that's not at Adrian's.
Basically.
Joe Lenehan, senior bookmobile driver, and first time here, gentle.
He's been asking a lot of the questions.
First time excitement.
So we just wanted to talk today a little bit about our bookmobile. So we call it Rover, the Roaming Library, and it roams all over the place in Poughkeepsie Public Library District, which we're a special district, therefore we are town and city of Poughkeepsie. So it's all that space there. It has its own challenges. Both the city and the town have a lot of different needs. So we use Rover and are trying to use Rover to fulfill all those needs. And it has been a learning experience, let me tell you. So let's go to the next slide. So first I want to talk a little bit about what Rover actually is. So we got it from Farmer Specialty Vehicles in Columbus, Ohio. It's a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, 330, there we go. And so it was already inception when I came aboard. So it was sitting in a garage after COVID. And we were, when I came aboard, trying to figure out what were we gonna do with the bookmobile. So that has been the thing that we have done for the last 5 years, is try to figure out exactly what we're going to do. It was made possible before I ever came aboard through the Friends of the Poughkeepsie Public Library District, who are fabulous, by the way, do a lion's share of all the money for our programming. So they asked the Friends about getting money for this bookmobile, and the board and the Friends both thought it was a fabulous idea. We were also able to get money from the Dyson Foundation, who were very generous in giving us lots of money for different kinds of things that we do. And then we also were able to work with Susan Serino, and then we had some estate money from the Elizabeth M. Smith estate, and we put it all together, and then they came up with Rover the Roaming Library.
Yep. And so here, like Beth said, it's been roaming for what, 4 or 5 years now, before my time. We have the last full 2 years, and you'll see that our visits and the number of people we've reached have gone up. And then you'll see at the bottom our last, the 3.5 months of this year, how we're doing so far. The one thing I want to say is, yes, stops and visitors have increased, but as we get to know Rover and what it does in the community, we've kind of streamlined what we think are its assets, especially because we're in an urban environment where people can walk to the library. So we're trying to think of it differently. The most popular things we have found are senior centers. The seniors love it. And it's such a great experience for our staff too. And youth events. We have a youth outreach librarian who takes it out to the schools and does story hours. It's fantastic. We're trying all kinds of things like colleges. We tried with Duchess. Marist has been phenomenal. We're not giving up on Duchess. We're going to try to come to you in some format. And it's just great to see what we've done with this. Yeah. So next slide.
So I will tell you, the what is a lot. As a district, I will tell you also that I am essentially the head of this thing, but honestly, it really takes a committee for us to be able to get it around to do so many things, because as a district, there are so many things going on. And if you ever have seen our rotunda, like, we collectively
Yeah.
probably a part of most of those things. So trying to figure out what we're trying to do and how to make it the most streamlined and scheduled thing that we can possibly do is an interesting thing to do for
And
my job.
honestly, getting staff to understand what we're doing because we couldn't actually take Rover out if we didn't have staff willing to go out. So,
Right. So these are only three of the things that I thought when I get questions about Rover, sometimes these are probably the three things that people ask a lot. So I thought we'd kind of concentrate on these things. So the first thing here on this is the Rover cart placement, and that is where the carts inside the bookmobile actually go and what we do with that. And we have a whole chart for that that I will show you in just a minute and why that's important for the stops that we do. And obviously the schedule in and of itself. We're taking staff from every branch of the library. It's in essence, we consider it its own branch. So there's a lot of coordinating that has to go on. And to do that, to start with, we have to figure out what the event is and then what we need. And that's what we use the Rover Stop information form for. And then if you all go into the lib guide for this and you look at the slides later on, you can click on all of these and you'll be able to get that information. And then our information will be at the end so you can ask any questions about those. And then the next one's going to be about the place.
yeah. So we have special, you'll see, because surprise, we've brought Rover. We have some stationary carts. We have carts that get on and off. They're usually housed at Adrian's behind the circulation desk, but those have to be easy to manipulate and to move. Joe and our other maintenance staff are responsible for moving those things on and off. So what we decided was because we have these different audiences, we have different setups. So I believe today we brought the general audience setup, but we do have one specifically for kids, one for our senior visits, and then one for the college and teen visits. And that just kind of reflects what different collections would be good for those particular populations. And this has been a collaborative effort between a member of our development office, graphically designing this, and library staff. So, do you want to
Joe,
add?
you were a big part
Yeah.
of this chart.
Well, yes, the creator, you would say.
Joe, microphone.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you could say, well, to be honest, it's my design. I like color coding.
Yeah.
In essence, to be like a you are here map at the mall. Because just as a driver who's been since the beginning and was there with a few of the initial stops with Beth, wondering where is this going to go?
Mhm.
What are we going to do with this thing? But the carts do come out. We have a total of 10 carts. 5 stay at the home base, as I call it, and 5 are interchangeable. You see, the colored ones are all can be changed.
Yep.
But the thing is, in doing it, it makes sense to bring the right books to the right audience. Large print we bring to the seniors. When you go to the kids, they don't care about that. They want the color books that nobody else gravitates to the same way. But in switching carts, I take that out. I know what that means. I physically switch the carts. And I can tell that other people are just not kind of talking about it in the way I am.
We'll get to that.
So just a little visual.
Yeah.
That's all.
And go ahead, go back one.
Yep.
And it's just so that the thing is we have extra carts. That's probably helpful to know. So we have to figure out where everything is. So that lets us know that 2 of these carts need to go on to Rover and 2 of these carts need to come off. And that's just to help us. So that's our visual for that.
Yep.
Okay, so you saw kind of the differentiation between the 4 different kinds of stops that we do. So we have school visits, we have senior visits, we have different kinds of extra visits, and there's some other ones in between. So what I have conjured up as the way to make the schedule work, because as a district, we're all kind of vying for Rover to do different things. So we decided to make it where every day has a certain kind of stop that we do. Every once in a while, there's an anomaly and we have to schedule something that's not on the day that it would normally be. But for the most part, this kind of helps us get it together. So as you can see, Tuesdays, we do senior centers. These two are senior centers right here. So they're specifically for senior centers, and we also go out to parks, but it's not on there right yet because we haven't started it. Our season for parks hasn't started yet. So that would be Tuesday. And then Wednesdays are always my day to go out to the living facilities. So these are my seniors who can't get to the library necessarily. And it gives us a chance to get the Rover out to them. And we actually do what we call lobby stop. So we bring the carts out of Rover and take it into them because they can't get out to the van. And then I also have staff who help do the home deliveries. And so for the seniors who want more than just the once a month that we come, we make sure to have them get in contact with my staff for extension services, and so they can have further services if they want. Here we have a grocery store stop. We started this a couple of years ago, and we were going to 4 different grocery stores, and it has dwindled down through our committee. We have decided that this particular stop has been the most popular, and it is just fabulous, and everybody seems to love this stop. So it is now the only grocery store stop that we.
It's right next to a bus stop, which we found was really great.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed, because I started at Poughkeepsie 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, was we were going to grocery stores, and I don't know about you, when I'm going to a grocery store, I'm going to shop for food. I have a mission. I want to get in and out. We found people weren't coming in to, with the exception of Burnett, they weren't really coming in.
For some reason, they just love it there.
Yeah.
I think they would hate it if we stopped doing it. So it works, so we kept it. And then we have things where we go to the UPK, obviously, is story times that we do. So Fridays are dedicated for that. And then we also use it for colleges. So we go to Marist every Friday. We always make sure to stock as many graphic novels as possible because they love them. And also we have started to realize that there's some other just J books in general that the kids are wanting to read because it's just fiction, fantasy, things that they don't have to deal with for their regular college reading. And they love that. So it just gives them more opportunity to find things, just general reading items. And then Saturdays, we usually devote to whatever kind of thing comes along. So usually there's a big event, not every Saturday for certain, but there's always something going on. So that's the day that we dedicate that for. So you can kind of see just the different kinds of stops and how we use the schedule to create what carts go on for what stops.
And another thing we've realized with the different kinds of stops is Rover isn't necessarily needed as a billboard for the district. Most people kind of know us, know where we're located. Also, when you look at Rover, some people have thought, and I have not had this experience, but I've heard of it, and people have asked if Rover is a mobile grooming van, which leads.
None of us had the idea to be, to have a dog be the mascot, but it just did.
I found in my office recently a bowl of water for dogs because they thought during the summer it would be great. I'm like, that's not helping your case. So, but that leads me to our next slide. You were done, right? Okay, that leads me to my next slide. So the thing about Rover is while we're not really going out for billboard events, it is a billboard. So one of the more important things is to have people who want to sell it. And I think we have some hesitation on our staff because they don't see themselves as hucksters ready to spread the word that is Rover in the library. So
notwithstanding.
Yeah. Joe notwithstanding. So Joe is excellent at this. So he put together these tips for our staff who might be a little hesitant to do it. We do usually staff it with a driver, person for circulation because we do check books out, and then we try to get somebody who really likes selling the library. So if you want to say anything about some of these tips.
Oh, well, these ones really just came up as being that I am the lead on this because I love Rover and I love getting people on the Rover. And we're going to go outside and look at it. I think you're going to agree. It's a fun
You'll see them in action.
It's a fun thing. And everybody is like, but then when they look at it, they're like, wow. Because we become little children again. And when you see the little children come on, they just like, wow. But just because it's off-putting, it's the public. It's a feeling of I have to represent the library. I have to be proper. But actually, at the end of the day, they just want real people to talk about the bus and the library. So be visible. Can they see you? Be engaging. You know, they came here, they're fidgety, they're looking at it, but they want to see what is this bus. Do you invite them in? They might want a book. Are you ready for it? And last one, just be yourself. Because they don't want a perfect robot or anything. They just want a human being who can tell them, what is this thing?
So I'm here. I put a few resources that have been really helpful. I've been on committees here and there for ABOS, which is Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services. And if you are considering doing anything with a bookmobile, I highly, highly recommend that you get involved in ABOS because there's so many things, resources on there, so many different people who have bookmobiles, who are talking about outreach, that it is just a fabulous resource. And then there's a LibGuide for ALA. I actually didn't know that until the other day, and it is actually kind of interesting. So if you are interested in that, that's a good place to go. And then this article from ALA back in 2019 is actually really good. So I'm just going to leave those three things there. And if you happen to get to the LibGuide after this and you're clicking through things, you have three things to look through that I think are fairly good resources for that.
And then I want to say, you know, we have Beth and me and Joe up here. We don't have a dedicated Rover staff, so this is a complete team effort. We are missing, we'd say me, Beth, and our colleague Michelle from the development office are like the leads on it. But our meetings for Rover come from maintenance department, development, adult services, children. It's a nice way for a bunch of us in different departments that don't see each other very often to go out and work together. So we found that's been really great in boosting staff morale. So that was a benefit I don't think any of us really saw.
And I have found the last couple of years as the head of extension services, one of my main pushes is to be able to get to the seniors, especially the seniors that can come to us. And this is the perfect way to do that. And I have basically been knocking on doors for every single living facility within the Poughkeepsie area to see if anybody is interested in having us come. And there are times where we have experienced challenges just by the nature of the geography of some of the spaces that just don't work. And then there's an ebb and a flow, and sometimes we just catch it just right, and then other times it just doesn't work. So then every year I start it over again and see if there's more that we can do. And Wednesdays are my day dedicated to that, and we've been able to do 3 stops that we consistently do throughout the entire year. The rest of the stops are seasonal based because I don't want staff out there in -17 trying to bark the bookmobile. That's not what we want. But we have really become kind of fine-tuned, and we continue every year to figure out what we think is needed. And we like to talk to the board, and we like to talk to the community and figure out what they think we also need, and that has really helped.
This doesn't end our presentation. We are going to go outside and show you Rover. Sorry, Zoom, that you won't be here to see it. But does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
So one of the things that we have in our policy is that books aren't, unless they're the books from the bookmobile or from the district itself, they really can't bring books back to us. through the bookmobile because they have so many other opportunities. There's so many other branches where they could take them. And it's really difficult, especially if we have circulation staff. Like I said, me, I'll take them back to my branch and I'll deal
Same.
with it. But I don't want the circulation staff to have to handle all these books, especially if they're coming from other libraries.
Yep.
Like they could get lost, a bunch of other things could happen in transit. So we try not to do anything.
And also, besides the drivers, we drive ourselves in our own cars to the
To the
locations.
space where the bookmobile is
So-
going to be.
Well, the one thing I would just add though is that the advantage of the bookmobile being a library is that it is officially a node in the Mid-Hudson Valley library system.
Mhm.
So in effect, the Hudson Valley is the book drop.
Mhm.
Because any
Yeah.
associated, you drop it.
I think we're at time.
Oh.
A comment, not a
Yeah.
question. But if you could, the Zoom audience can't hear me, but if you could let the Zoom audience know that Zach is going to do a walkthrough.
Oh, so I did not know. I said there is going to be a walkthrough for Zoom guests to see the bookmobile. So I take it back.
That's new. You did not have that information, so you didn't.
Yeah, I can roll with it.
Well, that's part of Rover, rolling with it.
Yeah. Any other questions before we go outside? Of course, we're willing to answer questions out there. We have discussed that. I think we're going to try it. Right now is we're really trying to get staff on board with it. It's been a struggle. I mean, and it's been a struggle from a management perspective too, because we're taking people from a branch to another branch, and while we definitely see it as another branch, it's not always
So one
seen
of
that
our
way.
challenges, I would say, as this is part of my job, it isn't the sole part of my job. I have a lot of other things going on as well because extension services and branch services is everything. So we don't actually have one human that's sole dedicated to this, which is interesting. So we have kind of formed a committee to try to figure that out.
Yep. So it's stuff we're definitely, I mean, if anybody comes up to me with a phone, I'm absolutely going to give them help. And we do have Wi-Fi on there, so we can do our cataloging. We've had discussions about offering Wi-Fi outside of the bus too. So you guys just want to get out and see Rover. Thank you.